All right, so welcome to Elite Psyche, the Mental Toughness Show. Had a little technical difficulties going live. This is actually our first time going live ever. And the reason we're going live today is because, when I started 12 months ago, this is our anniversary. The first guy I called was Coach Sam Shade. And so I called him today just to kind of, we can kind of talk a little bit more about some of the things that he's doing. But, it's just like a, 12-month thing where a lot of people didn't think he was going to make it 12 months, but we're here. And we got Coach Sam Shade somewhere. He was in the green room there and he popped off. Maybe something I'm doing while we're live, but y'all hold on for a second. And we're going to have Coach back up here in a minute. What are we doing here? Nothing I'm doing, but it'll come back up. But look, 12 months, great interviews we've had, and it's only going to get better. There he is. Hi, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I've got you.
All right, good, man. Good. Coach Sam Shade, head coach of HBCU in Birmingham, Miles College, head football coach. And, he was a superstar in college at Alabama. A lot of y'all Alabama fans. And also played in the NFL for 7 years with the Bengals and the Redskins. So glad to have you on today, Coach. You remember last year when I called you and we did our first podcast interview? I think I went through your whole history, I believe.
Yeah. It was a pretty long interview.
Yeah,
I think we covered everything.
We covered everything. We
Yeah.
covered everything from growing up, Birmingham to Alabama to NFL, and we talked about it. And it's actually still on the Elite Team site. Y'all go back and check that out. I'm sorry, the Elite Psyche. I said Elite Team, the Elite Psyche 100 site. So go check that out. But glad to have you on today, man. I just want to kind of jump right into some things we could talk about. First thing, though, I'm going to ask you, what's going on with Miles? What's going on with you and Miles? What's happening there?
Well, right now, we're basically in the off season. We finished up our off season program, which started the beginning of January when our student athletes came back to school. And we basically ended that a week ago, actually about a week and a half ago. And we got into spring practice this past Monday. So we got 3 days of spring practice in, and now we're on spring break.
What was your record last year?
We improved from our first year. We went 7-3, which we made some progress. Felt pretty good about the progress. Obviously, you always, the ones that you don't win, those are the ones that you dwell on. And
right.
And a couple of those games were close games. We lost one of those games. We lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff by 1 point. Another game we lost to Benedict College, who actually went undefeated during the season and won our conference and went to the playoffs. We lost to those guys by 3 points at home. Okay. So, it's just a few points that probably
you could have been 9-1.
Could have been 9-1 playing for the conference championship.
Exactly.
So, those are the ones that you keep thinking about and you lose a little sleep over.
What was that record the first year?
First year, we had a tough first year. I don't know if you recall, we actually went 1-9 the first season. Everything that could, it was kind of like the perfect storm, but in a bad way. Everything that could happen did happen.
Yeah.
From transfers to injuries, just a number of things. But at the same time, it actually set us up for our second season. And
man, you recovered because you almost went 1-9. You almost went 9-1.
Right.
That is really. What happened? How did you do that? How did you pull that off to take a team that was 1-9 and you turn it around like that? What was it?
Well, there's a lot that had to happen for us. Our administration, they didn't waver in their support of myself and the coaching staff and the team. Nobody said, "Hey, let's let's get the coach and the coaches out of there."
Right.
They stayed behind us. Our coaching staff did a great job after that first season, going out and bringing in some players, as far as not just transfer players, but also high school players. And those players we brought in, they were great fits for our program. They were good players, and they all fit. For instance, we got a transfer quarterback that was a grad transfer that played well for us. Had a couple, I can name a couple other guys at some different positions that really came in and played well. They were great leaders and just great individuals, and really helped make our team better. Okay. Along with our coaching staff, just doing a great job of coaching and motivating those guys each and every day.
Okay. I'm going to come back because I got some more questions about Miles and all this, but I want to jump right into the big elephant in the room. Let's talk about that. The transfer portal and what all the coaches out here are saying about that. What's your thought on that? The portal. What do you think? You heard what Coach Nick said, right?
You said Coach. Oh,
Nick Saban. Oh, yeah, you heard what he said about that, right?
Well, yeah, I did. I think he talked a little bit more about the NIL stuff, though. Seemed
right.
Like
but a combination of all the NIL and the portal.
Right.
He's like, I can't keep them. Well, I guess he's talking about the NIL. The reason they're jumping in the portal is because of the NIL.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Because the portal started before the NIL. I think the NIL has just kind of enhanced the transfer part of it, because if I'm a player and I'm sitting here thinking I'm playing at this level, my market value is this, and if I'm not getting that from whatever Power 5 school that I'm at, then I'm probably going to test the market and try to go get it somewhere else. It's just like, myself, when I played pro ball, I played 4 years in Cincinnati. My contract was up. I actually wanted to stay in Cincinnati. Wanted to stay, but, they weren't offering me what we felt like, my agent and I, what we felt like was market value. And in order to get that, we had to go somewhere else to get it. Right. And I think that's the way a lot of college athletes are looking at it. I just think, unfortunately, though, sometimes, guys aren't as, how can I put it? There's some guys out there that feel they should be, they're just as good as this guy at this school, that school. Right. And that's not the case all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does happen. So it does make the system tough. It does make it tough. But my thing on the transfers, though, the way that I've approached it, when I first went to Miles, I really wanted to try to build it with high school kids. Really wanted to do that. Couple disadvantages, though. We had some holes after our first year there. We needed some immediate help, guys that had played college football that could come in and play for us. So, we went out and we got those guys that needed to fill certain spots, certain holes that we had. And then the rest of the guys that we brought in were high school guys, where we felt like we could give a guy a year to develop. Then we signed high school kids in those spots. But the spots that we needed immediate help, we tried to fill those spots with transfers. And I'll say this, Tony, for me in Division II ball, a lot of people say, well, why don't you get a high school kid and bring him in and try to develop him? Well, unfortunately, in Division II football, we are not allowed to bring our guys in the summer and meet with them in the classroom and coach those guys on the field before we get to training camp. Now, Division I, all Division I schools can do that. They get a couple hours a week in the classroom and on the field with their student athletes. So for myself, if we were able to do that in Division II, then I probably would sign more high school guys. But knowing that the first time myself and my coaching staff get to work with those guys is going to be when they show up for training camp, the beginning of August. I just think that's too much to ask out of high school players to come right in and get them ready to play physically and mentally right away.
What's your suggestion to do about that? What do you think?
Well, for myself, I think on the Division II level, we need to have the same rules as the Division I level. I mean, we have all the other rules. We've got the transfer portal. If we've got resources out there that we can provide NIL, then we've got NIL. We've got everything they've got, except during the summers, we're not able to work with our guys as much. And one reason that bothers me is because I know myself as a player, a lot of my coaches on my coaching staff played, on the next level, at a high level. And those guys and myself, we were always trying to get better. So if our coaches were going to be around in the summertime and able to spend time with us, then we were going to be there and we were going to get that extra coaching that was going to help us, improve our game and get better. And I think the argument is that you've got guys that are doing internships and working jobs and they wouldn't be able to do that. Well, that's not the case, because I've been at other schools where we have worked with the players in the summer. They were Division I schools, but those players had internships. Those players had jobs, things like that. They would come early in the morning and spend time with us before they went to work, or they would, after work, come in the afternoon and spend that time. So, I think that, that's a rule that's, really kind of just doesn't work. Especially I'm in Birmingham, for instance. So
right.
There are all type of jobs for our players, internships, all that type of stuff. And our players go out and work out on their own. They do a lot on their own in the summertime, but they're not able to do it with the coaching staff.
So you heard what Coach Prime said about the NIL, right? When he said it's not really NIL, they just giving out money. What do you heard? Do you hear him say that?
Yeah, well, he's telling the truth though. I mean,
right.
He's telling the truth, because when NIL was first brought about, what I thought they were saying was, a perfect example was the quarterback from Bama, won the Heisman recently, went to Carolina.
Yeah. I can't even think his name right now. I know you're talking about. He's there now.
So he wins the Heisman in his junior year, and then he comes back the next year, or was it his sophomore year? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's got a year left. I think he won it his sophomore year, and then he had a year left. So
right.
He had to come back.
Right.
So here's a guy who won the Heisman. He's got all this notoriety, people talking about him, and you've got different companies that want him to endorse their products. I mean, the guy was on the Nissan Heisman House commercial. He was on a Dr. Pepper commercial. To me, that's using your name, image, and likeness. And I put it like this, I played 8 years in the NFL, and
right.
I can remember playing for the Washington Redskins, and we had a bunch of stars on that team, guys like Bruce Smith. Dion played 1 year with us, Darryl Green, Camp Bailey. Yeah. And those were the guys that had the big commercials. They had the name, image, and likeness stuff. A guy like myself, I was on the team, I was playing, I was starting, but I didn't have that type of stuff.
Well, Prime Time told you about your commercial.
Oh yeah. I remember. I remember telling you that.
But, hey, wait. Go ahead. We'll come back to that.
I thought that's what name, image, and likeness was for guys that could go out and benefit from their name, even if it was going out doing an autograph session, going to a car dealership, getting a car deal. That's what I thought it was going to be. But like Prime said, it has turned into, just the way to pay the players. Now, as a former player, I can't knock it.
Right.
I'm all about the players getting every dime they can get.
Right.
But I think now it's just about who's got the biggest wallet. I mean, who's got the biggest wallet. So I think college football is going to change a little bit, unless there's some type of salary cap put in place or whatever to make sure the playing field is equal. Just like the NFL, every year there's a salary cap that those guys aren't allowed to go over, because if it wasn't, you look at the the teams that have the most value, you know, the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Who
teams
got the
are,
big money? Yeah, you know,
and
they can
some
just
teams
buy
are
everybody.
$2 or $3 billion
Yeah,
more than other
right,
teams.
right. So
So
they will have all the players.
exactly. I mean, but you look at
Yeah,
a team like Cincinnati. I mean, they're probably not worth half of what the Cowboys are worth. But
right.
I mean, when Joe Burrow's healthy and all their guys are healthy, they can play
Yeah,
with anybody.
right.
And that's because of the salary cap.
Yeah, I got a couple of guys in the chat here. I think Lewis in here. You got any questions, man? Drop one in there for us if you got one. Back to Miles. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So on your schedule every year, you have your conference games, right?
Right.
And y'all take turns going to the home field, or some of them you just go there every year?
No, actually, so my first year at Miles, we were playing 7 teams in our conference. We played 7 different teams on a 10-game regular season schedule. And then going into the second year, they changed it. Our conference added an 8th conference game. So that put us in a position where we could only play 2 non-conference games. And so the same conference teams we played last year, we'll play those teams again. And it's basically like a home and away. So, for instance, we went to Central State last year up in Ohio. This year, they'll come to us.
Okay. And you do Tuskegee every year, right? Or you don't?
Yes, we play Tuskegee every year. I tell people, man, Tuskegee and Miles is like, shoot, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama State, and A&M.
Yeah,
like
I got you.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's big in the state of Alabama.
What's Miles' record against them? Before you got there, I guess. Were they?
You know, I don't know the overall record. Obviously, that's something I would probably have to take a look at.
Right.
I do know that the previous coaching staff that was here did have a pretty good amount of success, not just against Tuskegee, but against the conference, because they won the conference 3 or 4 years during their tenure.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the HBCU? Because you've been coaching now 2 years or 3 years, 3 years.
2 years at Miles.
Okay, so the 3rd year is coming up.
Yes.
All right. So you knew what you were getting involved with when you started, because I know, it was a couple of players who, were going to ex-players who was going to take some HBCU jobs, and they kind of got shocked on what's happening in the HBCU. You know what I'm saying? So you were prepared for that, right?
You know what? I was. I really took the job, and there's some things that you just can't be prepared for, and you don't know. You just got to go through them. But my mindset was my mindset, with the mental toughness.
There you go.
But my mindset was going in was that, no matter what, I'm going to do the best job I can do. I'll put together the best staff I can put together. We're going to do our best to, just be great ambassadors of Miles College, not just in Birmingham, but throughout the Southeast. And, that's what we've done. But I was fortunate because I've got family members that attended Miles College, 2 sisters that graduated from Miles, older and younger sister, nephew that played at Miles College, graduated in 19, won a couple championships. I always went and saw him whenever I could, if I had a bye week from wherever I was coaching. And I got to know the coaches that were there, really got to know those guys pretty well, and tried to get by there whenever I could. So had a little bit of insight. There's some guys that I kept from the previous staff that I've got good relationships with. So talking to those guys during the hiring process, I did know what I was getting into.
Okay. So what do you think about, when you look at HBCUs and the players and stuff, and I keep bringing up Prime, but he said this, he's always out on the microphone. He said, last year, I think it was only 1 player drafted from the HBCU at Jackson State. Like he went in the 7th round or something, and it was no others.
Yes, he did say that, which that was surprising to me. That was really surprising because there's some programs out there that have been really good. Obviously, you've got teams in the SWAC, the MEAC. We're the SIAC. We've had some really good players. Matter of fact, that are playing in the NFL. They might not have got drafted, but they're playing. Also, the CIAA. So, yes, that's surprising. But I can't tell you why that's the case.
I'm sure you got some players on your team now that you think probably feel if they keep going that they have a shot to. I mean, because for you to have that record, that means that record just doesn't come. You got to have some good players too and some good coaching. So that means you had to have brought in some good players that you probably feel that now when they get a tryout, like I guess some of the guys actually get a tryout. How does that really work? When they leave and say, okay, they're going to try out for the squad, what do they do?
Well, one thing, we're very fortunate being in Birmingham with us. We're literally, we're about 10 minutes from downtown Birmingham. And so every year, UAB, basically, the NFL scouts, they pretty much coordinate where they're going to go. And so, for instance, they went to Alabama on Wednesday of this past week. They went down to Alabama and worked all those guys out. Well, just financially and logistically, it just makes sense. If you're at Alabama, why not go and see some other kids? So what they do is they get a lot of schools to come to UAB and work out. So it's Miles College. We get to go to UAB, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Jacksonville State, West Alabama, Tuskegee. So it's actually good for the scouts because they get to see 5 or 6 teams with players in one location. And that's so our guys every year get to work out for NFL scouts. The ones that, we feel like are, good enough to work out, or, just the guys that have really earned that opportunity. We allow them to go over and work out, and we go watch them.
Yeah. Does the scouts talk with them afterwards and say, these are things you need to improve, or?
Well, they do a lot of combine drills first. So, they do the bench press, the vertical jump, the 40, the broad jump, everything they do at the combine, they do all that testing. And then, for instance, at the end, they do the position drills. So basically, for instance, our quarterback that was a grad transfer last year, Edward Kleinpeter, he had an opportunity to throw after the workout. Basically, after the combine session, he had an opportunity to throw, and actually had an opportunity to throw to one of our receivers, who actually was a transfer also last year.
Okay.
Kid by the name of Jordan Pollard, local kid from here. And so, they got an opportunity. That's the one thing, everybody wants is an opportunity, and they put themselves in position to get it, and they got it. But at the end of the day, Tony, it's a numbers game. I tell people all the time, in my 8 years in the NFL, I saw, so basically every year we would start off with around 90 players after the draft, when they bring the drafted guys in, the rookies, and then they bring in free agents. We would have at least 90 guys on a team. Then you go to training camp, and at the end of training camp, we had to cut down to 53. And, some guys would get kept on practice squad. But when I played, practice squad was only like five guys. It increased to 10 as I was leaving out. But that's not a lot of guys. So I saw a lot of players come and go that were good enough. Like, so it's not really about
just one room.
It just one room
for them.
It was just a numbers game. And I would see guys go, for instance, think you might know Nick Ferguson, maybe. Played at Georgia Tech. Great guy. You know, he came to Cincinnati while I was there, and as a safety, and he ended up getting cut, and he goes to Canada for maybe 2 or 3 years. Then he comes back to the NFL and plays about 8 or 9 years.
Right.
So it's just sometimes.
Well, see, that goes to what we talk about, the mental toughness. Right. That if a person gets cut because probably no room there, you know, just can't take it. Mentally, they got to be ready to say, I got this, man. The next one, I'm gonna make it. Or if you get cut there, I go to Canada and play. But I think this is me talking. Do you think a lot of guys kind of don't have that mental strength to keep going, even though they're talented enough when they get cut? I mean, I'm sure that's a terrible feeling. I know you never felt that before because you're a superstar, but I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know about superstar, Tony, but actually, I've seen that. I've seen that. For instance, you know, I coached at a couple other universities, and I saw guys that I felt like if they really pursued it and chased it, that they could possibly go play in Canada or some other league and then make the jump back to the NFL. But, you know, I think those are the guys that do that are the guys that they just love the game. And it's not about, I got to play in the NFL. I got to make $1 million. You know, they just love the game.
Right.
Those are the guys I feel like that just, they love the game, and it doesn't matter if they're playing it up in Toronto or Montreal, or if they're playing it, you know, overseas. I've got a player that played for me when I coached at Stanford University, and I think he's played overseas like the last 3 or 4 years over in Germany. And he loves playing ball. He's having a great time doing it, getting to see Europe, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right about the mental toughness side of it. And I've seen some guys that, you know, it was NFL or bust, or, man, if the NFL cut me, then I'm just not good enough. And you know, that's not the case.
Wow. You know, being at Sanford, coaching at Sanford and coaching at Miles, what's the difference? I know financially, the finances at Sanford is probably much more than at Miles, but what else? What else would you say is the difference?
Well, you know, the biggest difference that a lot of people just don't realize is that Sanford is Division I. It used to be 1AA. It's called FCS now. And what that means is they get 63, they get the equivalent. The NCAA allows them to have the equivalent of 63 full scholarships. And they get to break those 63 scholarships up amongst 85 players. Well, at Miles, because we're Division II, on the Division II level, the NCAA says that we can have the equivalent of 36 full scholarships.
Oh, wow.
So that's the biggest difference is the amount of scholarships. I mean, because even if Miles wanted to give me 100 full scholarships, they couldn't do it because of NCAA rules.
Right.
And so that's the difference between D1 and D2 that a lot of people don't realize.
So the guys that's on scholarship and the guys that's not on scholarship, how do they usually pay? How does that work? I mean,
well, so the way that we do it, basically on the Division II level, we don't just give out 36 full scholarships. You know, you're not going to do that because on the Division II level, and particularly at most HBCUs, one of the things, and you probably know this, Tony. I mean, you went to Jackson State, right?
Yeah.
You went to Jackson State. So while you were at Jackson State, did you get a what they call a Pell Grant from financial aid?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the school take that money and put it towards school? Probably so.
Okay, I'm thinking now. Wait a minute.
They probably did. They probably. So basically what I'm saying is, you know, for us, especially when you're at an HBCU, a lot of times your players are going to get some type of financial aid.
Right.
And so, you know, depending on how much it is, the school actually takes that and puts it toward school as far as tuition, fees, all that type of stuff. And so even the regular students. So basically what happens is I never really have to give a guy a full scholarship because part of his school is going to be paid for through financial aid. Okay. And so we break our scholarships up to where we'll have at least 60 guys on some form of football grant, athletic grant and aid, some type of.
Okay. So now are these, you know, like I messed around and got a couple of loans, you know, when I was in college. And so are any of these players getting that to where they got to pay them back, you know? Well,
you know, we try to talk to our players and educate them, you know, about getting student loans and all that. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yes, we do have some guys that do get the student loans or whatever because mm-hmm. they need to be able to take care of school.
Right.
But then you have some guys that actually, with their football money and their Pell Grant money, they actually don't need anything else. But some guys will take out a loan just to have a little extra money. And unfortunately, I think some guys do it to send some money home to mm-hmm. Siblings or parents.
Right.
And so, you know, that's something that we can't control, you know, whether a player takes out a loan or not.
Man, you know, it was running rampant back in the day when I was on campus. And I think they have blocked, is it Fannie Mae or Sally Mae? One of them Mays. They was on campus and they was giving out loans like it was grant money. So a lot of people thought they was getting grant money, but they really was signing for a loan. They had it slick. It was slick, man. So I think the last I heard is that they're not letting Fannie Mae or Sally Mae or whatever come on campus now to try to give these loans out because it was totally damaging to a lot of people because, you know, at least for me, it took me like about 10 years, 12 years to pay that loan back, you know, but they gave it out like it was like grant money, you know.
Man. Well, I know, you know, we've tried to educate our players because that actually came up, you know, a couple of years ago. Guys were talking about getting refund checks, and I'm sitting there saying, well, hold on, how they getting that? And you know, and then you find out some guys are, you know, taking out loans, and you know, but all we can do is just, you know, just educate them on the fact that, you know, at some point you're gonna have to pay that loan back.
Okay. Have you met Bama's new coach?
Actually, Tony, it's funny you asked me that because I actually did. I actually did have a chance to meet Coach DeBoer. It was kind of a, you know, one of those meetings that just kind of happened by chance. Mm-hmm. A couple weeks ago, there's an organization that I was actually a part of when I was a high school coach, the Alabama Minority Coaches Association, which is a group of high school coaches in the state of Alabama. The group started, I want to say 6-7 years ago. And they had a coaching clinic here in Birmingham. Matter of fact, they had it at the Boutwell Auditorium, which I know you know about.
Yeah, the Boutwell. Dang, that thing's still up, man. I guess I hope they remodeled. They remodeled Boutwell.
You know what? It's not in bad shape either. You know, I've been to some concerts there. Used to go to some wrestling matches.
Yeah, I'm about to say I used to go down to the wrestling match. What was it? God, what's the guy name? Joe Rossi or something like that. I used to go to all the wrestling matches.
Yeah. So they had the clinic there, and I went down on like a Thursday night. It was a Thursday and a Friday, so I went on a Thursday night, and I pulled up in front of the Boutwell. Well, actually, I didn't park in front. I parked across the street by the park. Right. I'm walking over, and nobody's really out there. And Coach DeBoer pulls up in an SUV, gets out. There's like one guy from the clinic. One of the coaches I know was waiting on him, and
Mm-hmm.
And so we just get to talking, and first thing I'm saying, well, man, where's his escort? Like, what
Right.
the
Why
state
ain't nobody
troopers?
with him? Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking for the state
Yeah,
troopers and
yeah,
all this
yeah, yeah,
stuff. And,
yeah.
so one thing I'll say about him is I take my hat off to him, man. Hey,
He's down to earth. Yeah.
he probably hadn't been living in Alabama long, but
Yeah.
to drive to Birmingham, downtown Birmingham at night, because this
I
was
know.
like, he was supposed to speak at 7 o'clock. He pulled up at about 6:45. And I'm like, okay, all right. So my man might have something too.
Well, we'll see. Let's see a year from now if he does that. That's the question. So do you think anybody else will have a run like Nick? Now, we always say that, and then somebody does it, but
I don't, because of those factors that you're dealing with now, the transfer portal along with the NIL stuff. I just don't think that, because all it takes is an overzealous booster or alum to say, "Hey, man, I want my school to, win," and all he's got to do is throw a bunch of money out there, and I'm sorry, but if it was my son, if it was me, if I was 18, 19 years old,
I got to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting myself back into the Winona High School, west side of Birmingham, Sam Shade. Like, I like that school, but hey, if you're giving me 50 and they giving me 200, I'm going to that school.
I go to, it can't help.
Yeah, I mean, and people get upset and say all this stuff, and
but but coaches do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a better offer, like that was the thing with Prime. You know what I'm saying? People wanted him to stay at Jackson State. I did too. But when Colorado bag up the Brinks truck and say we got this money, I mean, coaches do it too. So I don't.
Right. Well, but now and I know Saban's caught some flack for some things he said.
Oh yeah.
But I get what he's saying, but it's almost one of those deals, man, where the money talks. But the thing about college athletics, man, I know that myself and a lot of my teammates and guys that I know that played at other places, the thing we got out of it, man, was just, just a level of toughness. I mean, to go through what we had to go through. I mean, I give you a perfect example of a guy. Tom Brady goes to Michigan, and I think he's like 5th or 6th on the depth chart.
Right.
And he just, he grinds it out. He doesn't get in the transfer portal.
Right.
And there's some other guys probably that, you could say, matter of fact, myself, I got to Alabama and I wasn't happy with, I wanted to play on offense and they wanted to play me on defense.
Defense, right.
If the portal had been around, I probably would have jumped in it. But
so that's right. You wanted to be a running back, right? I mean, you played running back in high school, right?
Right. And I thought, well, I'll just say this: every school that recruited me, we never talked about defensive back. I never talked about it with Alabama. I mean, and that's part of it. And I tell people all the time, sometimes people see things in you don't see in yourself. And that was a great example for me of the coaching staff there seeing something in me that I didn't want to see that in me. I didn't want to play defense, but after the coaching staff spending some time with me, talking to me, it took a while, but once I did it, I realized later that sometimes.
So do you think they did it because they saw that in you and they know that, like, how they say in the draft, get the best athlete on the board or the best player on the board. So they saw that in you. Like, what were the running backs at Bama at that time? Who were playing there?
Oh, there was some good ones. But I played both ways in high school too. I did play defense. Okay. So they did have a chance to see me on defense, evaluate me on defense. But yes, there were some really good running backs.
Like Sherman White was there, right?
Well, Sherman Williams, we came in the same year, but they had Derek Lassick was there, who was a second rounder to the Cowboys, Rand Stacy. I can go on and on. I mean, there were a lot of good backs there, but my thing at the time was, that's where I wanted to go play running back. So I I wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't doing like some guys do now. Some guys will say, well, how many guys you got at that position? And am I going to get a shot to play right away? I just said, hey, I'll go compete. I'll go and compete. And, you know, that was kind of the way I looked at it. But, you know,
have you talked to Elastic lately? Because, you know, I used to work out with him in the gym, man. And that dude is funny, man. He is literally funny. I was about a couple of years ago, I was walking around the Braves Stadium. And all of a sudden, I'm walking, and all of a sudden, somebody runs up on me and grabs me like I turn around, like it was Elastic. He was running across the street. I didn't know who he was running at. I didn't even know it was him. That dude is off the chain, man. Have you talked to him lately?
No, that's a good brother, man.
Yeah,
Elastic, man. He's good people. Always has been. Had a great work ethic, and you know, I think he would have played a long time in NFL. Unfortunately, he had a knee injury with the Cowboys, but he did get a ring. But you know, he had that knee injury. But cool. just great guy. And I was fortunate to play college ball with a lot of great players, but even better individuals. You know, just guys that you asked about Elastic. If I saw him tomorrow, we'll pick up where we left off.
Yeah,
you know, we're kind of like that as far as the guys I played with while I was in college.
So you have Antonio Langham on your staff, right?
Yes, Antonio's joined my staff.
Okay,
and that's kind of a interesting deal, Tony. We so at Miles, you know, we've got a little over 1,200 students, so it's a small college. So our classes are offered pretty much, you know, during the day, 8 till 4 or 5 o'clock, and it's set up where it would be hard for us to have practice in the evenings, in the afternoons.
Okay.
And so that's why we practice in the morning. We practice pretty early in the morning, about 5:15 in the morning when we practice.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay.
So when I first got the Miles job, you know, and Antonio and I, we had talked about it over the years. He was like, hey, if you ever got a head job in college, you know, I'll come. But he didn't want to come when we were practicing at 5. So my first year, he wasn't on the staff the first year.
Okay.
And then the second year I called him, and he had a change of heart and decided he wanted to do it. So, you know, he's been with us since last summer, basically.
Cool.
Oh,
yeah. Do you have any more Bama players on the staff, or you?
Well, yeah, we do actually. We've got so my offensive line coach, who's also my new offense coordinator, is a guy by the name of Dennis Alexander. He was an offensive lineman at Alabama. He came in after me. He was about 5 years after me. Okay. He's from Memphis, Tennessee. He's coached a lot of places. You know, then I've got a guy by the name of George Pugh. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, name. I remember that name, George Pugh. Was he a center?
Well, okay, you're thinking about another one. So this George Pugh actually played at Alabama in the 70s. He was one of the first.
That's what I'm thinking about. But he didn't play center?
He played tight end.
Really?
He played tight end at Alabama.
What was his number? You don't remember?
I can't remember his
number.
He
played in the 70s or the 80s?
Yeah, no, he was there. He was one of the first African Americans to play there. Like he was in like maybe that first.
So he was there with what was the number 80? What was the guy named played running back number 80? Because at one point, the two that I only saw on the field in the late 70s was Ozzie Newsome and Johnny Davis. So I saw them.
Well, he was just a little bit ahead of Ozzie.
Okay.
And played tight end. So Coach Pugh, he's like our elder statesman on the staff. You know, he was actually retired, and he lives here in Birmingham. We've known each other for years. He's been a college head coach. He was at Alabama A&M for a while, and been a lot of places. He's been at Arkansas, Texas A&M. Just, you know, one of those guys. He actually helped Bill Curry start up the Georgia State program. And so he called me and he said, hey, man, I'd love to come over and help you out. So, hey, man, he got off the couch and
that's cool.
He's come over and, You know, so that's been good too. So basically, you're talking about a total of 4 guys that played at Alabama, but you know, it's an interesting staff. We've got my defensive coordinator is a guy named Chris Schelling. He played at Auburn the whole time I was.
I remember him, 41. I remember he was a running back.
He wore number 4.
But when he a running back or
he was defensive back. Matter of fact, we were.
I do remember him. I remember him now. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm messing up the numbers because that was back.
Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah. But I remember Schelling. Yeah.
Yeah, but he played with me my rookie year in Cincinnati. He was a safety that played with us.
Okay.
So he's coaching safeties and he's defensive coordinator. Then I've got a guy on my staff, a guy by the name of Ronald McKinnon, and he actually played at North Alabama. But man, interesting. Tony, I tell you, it's crazy, and I tell people. So Antonio Langham, you know, he's in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Coach McKinnon, our linebacker coach, is in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. But Coach McKinnon is also in the College Football Hall of Fame. And Coach Langham just got selected. He's going to be inducted later on this year into the College Football Hall of Fame, which, I mean, it's crazy having 2 guys on my staff like that. But interesting thing about McKinnon, he played like 10 years in NFL, played middle linebacker, and he played Division II football. You know, he played at North Alabama when it was D2, won a couple national championships, but also he's the only defensive player to win the Harlan Hill Trophy in Division II, which is the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy, but it's on the Division II level. So, wow. You know, I've got an interesting staff, man. I got some guys that have played a lot of ball, they coached a lot of ball, and you know, we just have a good time as a staff doing it. And I think our players, you know, somebody said was talking about, I think one of our coaches, I don't know if it was Langham or McKinnon, and somebody said, "Hey man, you ought to Google that guy." And then somebody said, "Well, just go over there and talk to him." I mean, you don't have to Google. Just go talk to him.
Hey, you remember the 2 guys talking on the phone, one in the back seat, one?
Tony, that's classic right there. That is.
Just turn around and talk to him.
I got to ask you, you never got a call. Did Mason never say anything about that?
Oh yeah, he had to pay the bill. Mason, but I told him why it was happening. I'm like, Mace, these guys talking on the phone to each other and they're in the same car. And like this was
some walkie-talkies.
Yeah, exactly. And this, I mean, you could turn around and touch them. And this was before the rates that dropped, you know, where you can talk on the weekend and that's what at the time you should talk on the weekend at night because the rates was too high. They're in the middle of the day. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, the guy, he was, I guess Mace felt he was worth it because he did go along and do well. But that was.
Hey, Tony, man, I keep looking at your sweatshirt, man. You know, I got a gray one, man, that you sent me. Everybody loved it, man. I'm talking about it. Everybody was like, hey, where can I get one from? So you got to give me the information.
I got to get you some more, man. You just tell me some sizes and I'll get them to you for real. I mean, whatever you need. We're going to make it happen, Coach.
And the thing is, when you sent that to me, I actually, it was great. I wore it out to practice, you know, and it's got because those are the things I preach, you know, the mindset. Right. You know, we always preach about having a mindset. Right. You know, we're always talking about, you know, being mentally tough. It's like that's part of our program in the off season. I tell guys all the time, I say, yeah, we want to get you physically, we want to develop you physically and all that stuff, but also mentally. And I tell guys, I said, look, I want to find out in January or February if you're gonna quit on me.
Right. That's what you want to know.
Yeah, and what I mean by that, a lot of people don't quit by saying, "Hey, coach, here you can have your stuff. I'm gone." No, I mean you have some guys that'll quit on you in a game. You know, they'll get a little tired or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't take that extra step or they don't do it exactly the way you coached it. They don't push themselves through. And to me, that's a form of quitting, and that's where you got to be mentally tough to where you can persevere and push through. when it's not easy to do.
You can see that. You see it more on film, or do you like when it's actually happening? Because everything is fast. Can you tell that guys are kind of out there just?
Well, you know what? Obviously, you're gonna see it on film later on, but when we're watching a ball game, my thing is I'm watching certain things. But for instance, the D-line coach is watching the D-line, the linebacker coach watching linebackers. So I've got position coaches that are watching their positions. So they see that stuff long before we watch it on film, because when we watch it on film, it's too late. I mean, the game's over with. And sometimes you have to make some changes. For instance, you might have to pull a guy out of the game and say, hey, you need to sit over here for a minute and think about it, because you're not playing at the level, the standard that we're looking for whatever reason. And you never know why sometimes.
Before I hooked up with Mace, me and my partner was kind of out here doing it, and we was going to like Jacksonville State and we had a guy named Danny that he think he played running back, and the guy was great, man. In my opinion, he had a lot of touchdowns running, So we send the footage off to the guys in Canada, because they wanted to see him. So we send the footage to him, and the guy called me back. He said, "Yeah, that's good." He said, "That's not what I want though," because we sent him all the highlights, touchdowns. He said, "No, I need to see 2 or 3 games, because I want to know, is he walking back to the huddle? Is he taking off on another play?" He said, "I need to see everything. That highlights is fine, but these guys still could be quitting in the middle of the game."
Right. Well, unfortunately, though, that's tough sometimes to get that type of film, because maybe the guy who's doing the video, he might turn that play off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe a second after the play's over with.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just can't see that. Like for us as high school coaches, and I'll tell you, for us as college coaches, when I used to go to high school games as an assistant, that's what I was looking for. Like the stuff that your guy wanted.
Yeah.
I was always, I like to get there early. I wanted to see how he was in warm-ups with his teammates. Like for instance, I don't like a guy that he's got to be the last guy all the time. He's trying to, it's about him. Like, he's not with his teammates. So,
right.
That guy the coach is saying something to him, his head's turned, there's a lot of things that you can see. But, for myself, when I watch guys in person, it really helps me evaluate guys. If I can watch a guy play in person, I think I can give a better evaluation in person than off of film. But
all right, well, man, we're gonna try to wrap this up. I can talk to you forever, but I do want to know your schedule next year. I know I can go pull it up, but off the top of your head, what was your first game?
Okay, so we actually just released our schedule, and September 7th, we play in Montgomery against Alabama State.
Wow.
Yes.
You all actually beat them last year, right?
We did. We did. We were able to find a way somehow, some way. We were able to go down there and come out with a win, which it actually was the first time in school history that Miles College had beaten a Division I school in football.
Right.
So that was a big
win. They were favored, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They were favored, and they went on and had a pretty good season. They really did. They ended up, I want to say, 7-3 or 7-4 or 8-3, something like that. Maybe 8-3. But they were a good football team. The thing is, for us, when we went down there and played them, we were completely healthy. We felt really good about our team going down there, felt good about our chances, and we had to fight for it. And, it wasn't something that, was going to happen easy.
Right.
But, we were able to win it. But unfortunately, after that game, we came out of that game with a lot of injuries. We lost our starting running back for the season in that game. Our quarterback, basically, he limped out of that game, and was dealing with an ankle injury for a couple weeks after that, and some other guys were banged up. So that's the thing about when you play up like that against a Division I school. Remember, I told you they've got more scholarship guys than we do.
Right.
And so if our guys get banged up, it's not like we've got a lot of depth behind them where we're putting in the same caliber player. And it, and it caught up with us. It did.
So what's the game after that? It's the next game, second game.
Okay, next game we stay in state and we actually go down to play West Alabama. We'll go play at West Alabama. Played them a couple years ago, and so that was kind of.
Are they division? They're not Division I. They're Division II, right?
They're Division II also, but they play in a different conference for us. They play in the Gulf South Conference, along with schools like Valdosta State, Delta State, Mississippi College, West Florida. They play in a really good conference, but we play in a really good conference also. I think we got some great coaches and great players in this conference, so it should be a really good game going down there for us. And then we come back and we play Lane College at home on the 21st of September. That'll be our home opener. All right, now I'll give you a couple more dates now.
Okay.
October 5th, just in case you want to come to town, that's our homecoming game.
Okay.
5th, we play Central State. So.
Okay. I still remember Central State when they back in the day when they came and played. What was that? They came and played where Orlando Parker played. Remember he transferred from Auburn to. What's the other school in Alabama down going toward Dothan?
Was it Troy?
Tuskegee? Troy State. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Central State came to play Troy State, and that's when boy, I'm getting young. What's the linebacker?
You said Hugh Douglas.
Hugh Douglas. Hugh Douglas stepped off that bus, boy. You thought he was Lawrence Taylor, man. Hugh say, I'm going up this year, man. So ain't anybody want to mess with me, it's gonna be over. He said, you make sure you watch me on the film. I mean, he came on the field. He came out talking so much smack, man. And
he was a player, man. He was a player.
Yeah. He could really play, man. Yeah, I mean, he really did. So now, hey, Coach, I appreciate you, man. Anything you want to say closing out? Okay.
I gotta ask you, have you had Mace on yet?
He running from me, man. I got to get him.
Well, you tell Mason I've been on the show twice,
and he's not on.
Been on yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna send him a text. Then he running, man. I just talked to him. I texted him last week, and then he sent me a text back. He said, "Man, I think I got COVID." So he was down. He been down. I need to hit him back up and see if he all right. Though, yeah, he said he had been somewhere internationally, and he came back. He said, I think I got COVID. But I'm gonna tell him, you been on the show twice and he ain't on yet. So I got to get him on here, man.
I've seen some really good shows, Tony. I have. I've tried to keep up with you and watch the shows and stuff. But hadn't seen Mason yet.
I know. I got Coach Witt. I should have called. I was gonna text Coach Witt to tell him to jump on with us today. When I posted on my Facebook page that we was gonna go live, he checked it at first. I'm like, God, I should have hit Coach Witt. I hope he was watching. I don't know if he was watching or not. He didn't say anything in the chat. But again, man, thank you. I ain't gonna hold you like I did last time. We had almost 2 hours last time. But that is on the Elite Team site. So if you want to know the history of Mr. Sam Shade, I mean, from high school all the way through the NFL until Miles College, go watch that. It's on the Elite Team site. But appreciate it, man. It's my first time going live. It's our anniversary. We made it a whole year. So next year, I'm hitting you up again. You're gonna be for the second year.
Man,
all right.
Well, Tony, man, I wish you the best, man. I think you do a great job, and man, the mental toughness, mental psyche, that's big. That's big.
Yeah. Let me know though, a couple of guys or whatever you want the hoodies, let me know, text me sizes. And I'm gonna come to a couple of games this year. Your stadium, y'all have a new stadium, right? Or is it?
No, it's the same. Sloan
Okay.
Stadium, right there on campus. We're right there on
Okay.
campus. Oh, I forgot to tell you also, I know you're in Atlanta. We also
Mhm.
come over to we'll come over and play Clark Atlanta also this year.
But you went over. That's why I saw you last year, because that's when I gave
We
you the
played
hoodie.
Morehouse then. We came over to
Oh,
play
okay,
Morehouse.
okay.
Yeah, so Morehouse
So
has to come to us, and now we've got to go to Clark.
okay.
Yeah, so a
Who
lot of
that?
close games.
And Clark got the new coach. What's his name?
Teddy Keaton.
No, not him. Okay, Morehouse got the new coach
Oh,
that
they
played
got
for the Falcons.
Terrence Mathis.
Yeah, Mathis. Yeah, okay.
Terrence Mathis. So
Okay.
shoot, man, I tell you, we've got some, like I said, we got some really good coaches. I mean, Coach Mathis, he's been a lot of places.
Yeah.
Coach Keaton, actually, he's done well in the SIAC. He's
And Clark.
Yeah, well, he was at Stillman, and he was at
Okay.
Allen the last few years. He was at Allen and did a good job there. So, just a lot of good competition in our conference.
Okay. All right, man. We're gonna sign out. Appreciate the time. If y'all listening, subscribe, man. Please hit the subscribe button, like button, and put some comments in here, man. Just say boo, something like that. We'll make it happen. So, all right, we out of here. Signing
All right,
off.
Tony.
All right, good talk.
Appreciate you, my brother.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.